everybody, welcome back, and I'm really excited about today's video. For those of you who have been with me for a while, you probably remember, or you might remember, my drugstore or affordable contouring products for fair skin tones. This is something that has been really difficult traditionally in the drugstore and with more affordable brands, because generally all of the products would come out with really orangey tones that would just be unflattering, especially if you are very, very fair skinned like I am. So I thought, since that has been the most popular video on my channel, it seemed to really help a lot of people. What I've done is I've just decided to come back and revisit it. So I'm just going to run through some of my favorite contouring products that are really affordable in the drugstore. I'm going to be sure to link them all down below, and yeah, I'm just going to do swatches and comparisons. So let's jump into it. So just like I did in my first video, I'm going to be comparing all of these to my holy grail sculpting product, which is the sculpting powder by MAC in Sculpt. This is just a great product. It's a perfect tone. It's not too cool toned for me. It's not too warm. It's just perfect right in the middle, and it just gives a beautiful contour to my face anytime that I use it. So I'm just going to be doing all of the swatches compared to Sculpt by MAC. So there's not going to really be any order. I'm just going to go in and let you know what I like and why I like it. So the first product I want to talk about is one that I have a love-hate relationship with, and that's because I love the product. I hate the packaging in here. This is the new L'Oreal, or it was new last year, Infallible Pro Contour Palette in Light. Again, I hate this. I think this is the dumbest packaging on the face of the planet, especially for the price. This is probably the most priciest item that I'm going to be talking about. It's $13 in the drugstore, and I really wish they would have just done the highlight in one pan and the sculpting powder in another, but this sculpting powder is so beautiful. It is very, very light. It is very, very cool toned. This is one of those, but it's very buildable and blendable. So it's one of the just best contouring products in the drugstore when you want a true contour. It is cooler than MAC, and it is a little bit lighter toned than MAC, but I find that especially on days when I want a really natural, subtle contour, this is the product that I tend to go for, and it's absolutely beautiful, and to the point where I can get over the packaging issues. Barely. This is a great option despite its obvious flaws. The next product that I see that I want to pick up and talk about is actually one of the Rimmel London sculpting highlighting palettes by Kate Moss. I did a whole review of these on my channel. It came out about 1.5 years ago now. So I really do love all three of the palettes in the line, but this one, which is called Golden Bronze, I think might be my favorite just for contouring. First of all, the highlight and the blush in here are absolutely stunning. Some of my favorite beautiful glowy blush and highlighter products in the drugstore. But what we're really here for is actually the contour. Now, I like this because it is a matte contour in this palette. The contours and blushes and highlights tend to range from, you know, shimmery to satin finish to bronzy, just different combinations in these palettes. But this is actually my favorite contour. And it is, you can see, very deep. It is deeper than Sculpt. And it's a little bit warmer than Sculpt, but not much. It's a nice, beautiful kind of warm contour without being too orangey. And yes, it is deep, but what I find with this one, and I did talk about it in that video, is that when I use this, it blends out so beautifully. You just have to use a light hand for it. So when I'm going for a more glam makeup, I tend to reach for this powder just because I just find that it gives me a beautiful, more intense contour without being too orangey on the face, and it does just blend out beautifully, and this one's right around $7 in the drugstore. All right, let's talk about the next product, and this one I have been using like crazy. I used it a bunch. I kind of use this interchangeably with the MAC sculpting powder in my 31 days of tutorials, and this is the NYX Cheek Contouring Duo Palettes in Double Date. Now, I've said this before, I do not like this powder right here, this highlighting powder. It's very hard, it's powdery, it's cakey, it's dry, it's just not good, but the sculpting powder is absolutely beautiful. And again, I just wish they would sell this powder in a big pan. You can see I have used it to death, and this one is just absolutely fantastic. This one is kind of between in depth. It's kind of between the Rimmel one and MAC. It's not as light as the L'Oreal, although it is probably more in line with that kind of cool tone. I absolutely love it. It is a stunning product. It blends out beautifully. It looks so gorgeous and natural on the skin. It is one of those things where even though I don't use this product, I love this one so much that it is worth picking up. in my opinion. I just wish they would sell just the contouring product in one. And these are really interesting because some of these come with contours and blushes, some of them come with highlight and blushes, some of them come with contours and highlights. It just is kind of depends on which one you pick up, but the one in Double Date is the one that I use, and I love that contouring powder. All right, the next product I want to talk about is actually another palette, and this is the contour palette from e.l.f. It's $6. I got mine at Target. I love this thing. I travel with it all the time. You can see I've used the crap out of this contouring powder down here, and then I love mixing it with this kind of more light bronzy powder. These are such good little powders from e.l.f. They are not the most buttery, creamy products ever, but they're just go onto the skin beautifully. They blend out beautifully, and they're nice because they give you a variety in this one palette. So for $6, you're getting one that's a little bit deeper and cooler, and one that's a little bit lighter and more on the bronzy side, so you can really customize what you do, what you need for your skin that day. And I absolutely love this product. I love all of these e.l.f. little compacts. I travel with them all the time. Sometimes they're the only contouring, highlighting, bronzing products I will take with me when I go on vacation, just because they're so sturdy, they're so affordable. So if they get lost or broken, it's not a big deal. But also the actual product in here is just fantastic. I love this contouring powder. I think it's just absolutely one of the best in the drugstore, and I really like this one as well. So that's a great one to look into if you like to customize your shades on your face. I am very much high maintenance in that regard. I'm always mixing and matching and finding different combinations of products that I really enjoy. The next product I want to talk about, I have talked about many times on my channel, and it's the City Color Contour Effects On The Go palette. I love this palette. I use the absolute crap out of it. I got this for $5 at Five Below. I want to say on their website they're about $10 to $12, so I'll look that up and I'll link them down below. But the reason why I like this is because, again, I'm somebody who likes to customize shades. I can use this all seasons of the year, whether I've got a little bit of a tan or whether I'm just my normal pale self. But I love this shade right here. This is my absolute favorite shade. Ooh, I just threw that out of the palette for contouring, and it's great. It is just very, very cool toned, nice, but it doesn't look muddy on the face. I use this one all the time on a daily basis. I mean, it's just there are weeks when I will just use nothing but this palette. But the cool thing about the City Contour powders is that if you are somebody that you know you're just going to use these shades, or you're just going to use these shades, they sell the top row, and I believe the more cool toned is the City Color Contour Effects 2 palette, and the one that's got the warmer tones is the City Contour Effects 1 palette. And again, I'll link those down below, and I think those are a little bit cheaper, but they're cool because if you're not somebody who needs or utilizes all of these colors, they give you the option of just having the cooler tones or the warmer tones in the larger pans. So not only are they really awesome and a great just contour option for fair-skinned individuals at an affordable price, they give you the option to not buy a bunch of product that you're not going to use. You guys know how I feel about high-end contouring palettes. I will probably never really, I don't think I've ever been tempted to really buy one, because you're paying so much money for a product where you're not going to use most of the shades in the palette. So it's a big difference when you're paying $5 to $10. But I love that you have the option of just breaking this palette up and either buying one that you're, you know, either the cool toned one or the warm toned one, where you're going to use just the heck out of it. I think that is such a phenomenal idea. I wish more companies would do that, and I love the product in here. I use it all the time. This next palette is actually what I used today on my contour, and I just went for something very light, very subtle, didn't want to go too crazy. And this is the Profusion Studio Contour Palette. Again, I got this for $5 at Five Below. I believe it's a little bit more expensive on their website, but I'll link it down below. And this is a great just kind of travel palette all in one. It's not as sturdy as the e.l.f. because you do have the plastic here, but it's so inexpensive. If it gets broken, you know what I mean? You're not going to be heartbroken with it. But again, just a great palette. I do tend to use all of these colors down here. Today I just used this one because I was going for a more subtle contour. I tend to not use these powders up here. They are a really nice consistency, but I generally just don't reach for them. The highlighter in this palette is stunningly beautiful. It's really, really gorgeous. Again, a little bit more on the subtle side, but I love Profusion highlighters. But what I love in here are these contour powders. So you have a really darker, cool toned powder, you have a warmer kind of mid-tone bronzy powder, and then you have a lighter, cooler contour. And I tend to mix and match these as well. I'm running out of space. And actually the lighter one is what I have on my face, the one I just swatched. That's the one that I tend to use as a matte bronzer, and I'll kind of fade it into my contour if I want to warm up the face. So this one is definitely deeper and darker, and it's going to be like the one from Rimmel up here, where it's a more dramatic contour, but it's not going to be so crazy over the top that it's not wearable. It's just going to give you more of a shadow effect because it's a nice cool tone and it blends out beautifully. Absolutely love all three of these. Again, generally I'll use this one on its own like I did today, where I just don't do any bronzer. Or I'll use this deeper one on me where I want to contour, and I'll fade it in with this lighter, warmer color just to kind of bronze up the face. So again, another great palette from the drugstore that I really don't hear anybody talking about, that I think is just great quality, and to where even if you don't use these shades, you're not spending 40 or 50 bucks, so, you know, to get a really great contour shade. So I think that is an amazing option as well. Finally, I want to talk about a couple contour sticks that I am absolutely in love with. I generally don't use cream products on my face. It's just they seem a little bit more high maintenance, and I generally don't reach for them, but these two I reach for all the time. The first one I've had for a while, and it is the Maybelline Master Contour V Stick, and it comes with a contour product on one side and a highlight on the other. And I've got to say, I absolutely, I'm just going to do, I can do it over here, right? Yeah. I'm running out of room. I love this shade. It is really, really light. It is very, very similar in tone to the L'Oreal. It's also very similar in tone to the City Color one. I think this is a beautiful tone. It blends out beautifully on the skin. It's got a cream to powder finish. It just gives you a very, very natural contour. I tend to like these contour sticks over my primer and under my foundation, so when I blend in my foundation, they just kind of create a very natural blended in contour color, and this one is absolutely stunning. This is in the light shade for lighter skin tones. I think if you haven't checked this out and you're into cream contouring and you're thinking about buying a high-end cream contour palette or stick, I would try this out because this is so fantastic. And then one of my favorite cream or contouring products period across the board, which is saying something because I tend to be just lean more towards powders, is the new Jordana Sculpt and Go Creamy Contour Stick, and I'm in the shade, again, light. And I just love this. I think it is so good. It is slightly deeper and just slightly warmer than the Maybelline, ever so slightly, but the way it blends out and blends into the skin is so stunningly beautiful and natural, and it doesn't look heavy or powdery or cakey. Obviously, you're using a cream. Again, I like to use this under my foundation or right over my foundation before I set my face, and it looks so natural and beautiful and gorgeous. And this really is, when they say Sculpt and Go, I really do use this on the go because I find that it is so easy and it blends out so beautifully and simply on the skin. And these are like $5. So if you haven't tried this, I highly recommend it. It is one of my favorite contouring products since I've had it at the, you know, kind of towards the end of last year. So definitely recommend that. All right, everybody, so those are just my recommendations for contours slash bronzing slash contour palette products in the drugstore if you are a fair-skinned individual and have a hard time. I will link my initial video down below because I still use a bunch of those products as well. I just didn't want to mention them in this video since I've already covered them and I had so much to talk about. But yeah, let me know what your favorite contouring products are, high-end, drugstore, affordable, you know, whatever. I love hearing your suggestions, but I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you so much for hanging out, talking about makeup with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Have a rockin' week, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.